I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars, and on this channel I long ago revealed myself to be a Porsche Macan stan. I never thought that I would be that kind of person. To me, a small sports SUV is not generally the kind of car I like, but this vehicle is one of those cars where when you get behind the wheel and drive the thing, you're like, God, I hate being wrong. But if you're a subscriber, you'll know the Macan I tell everyone to buy is the V6 powered Macan S, which is a brilliant car. This is not the Macan S. This is the one you guys have been asking me to review in the comments, the Macan T. And that one change of letter has a significant change to the demeanor of the Macan, mostly because it has a 4-cylinder engine, just like the base model. Now, Porsche has released lots of T models throughout its history, and they're normally lightweight specials. This is not a lightweight vehicle. So in today's video, we're going to find out if the T really means anything, if it's worth buying this car over the base Macan, or whether you should spend a little bit more money and just get the 6-cylinder powered version instead. And see, I say a little bit more money, but actually this Macan T has been optioned to be above the price of a Macan S, which is thoroughly confusing. We'll get into all of that. Hit subscribe before we start, hit the notification bell, and let's crack on. Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car. Brought to you by Budget Direct. The thing about Porsches is that you can really make the interior whatever you want, and the level of customization on the Macan is really extensive, but the T model is one of those grades of Porsche where Porsche kind of ticks a lot of boxes for you to make it a bit easier to buy. So you can still really customize the cabin of this SUV, but the base Macan and the Macan S, they're the versions which are really blank slates that you can go absolutely crazy on with the interior. You can do light colors, bright colors, woods, metals, all sorts of materials. It's really up to you, and I know that I could go absolutely nuts on the Porsche configurator. So if you're at work right now, definitely don't go to porsche.com.au and spend the next 2 hours on the configurator. Definitely do, it's amazing. But anyway, let's have a look at the T. So what we have here is an optioned up Macan T. It's got $26,000 worth of options, this car. I'll try and point out what they are while also letting you know what's standard. Well, the first thing that's standard is this lovely leather-wrapped steering wheel with metal paddle shifters and a little Manatino controller down here for the drive mode, which is really cool. And we've also got a little marker at the 0-degree strip in case you forget which way is up, which is, you know, always dangerous in a mid-sized family SUV, I've thought. You look through that at a set of 3 binnacles, 2 mechanical, which I love, they're super handsome, and a little 4.5-inch digital screen where you can look at a map, media, trip information. It's perfectly fine, and not every screen has to be digital. That's a good lesson Porsche keeps telling us. Now in the center here, we do have a very modern touchscreen, super high resolution, wireless Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto actually on this car, so that's important to note if you prefer a Google phone. But Porsche's own system is really nice and easy to use, lovely looking maps, and the sound quality is good. The car comes standard with just a base 10-speaker Porsche stereo. This one's got the optional Bose. I'll probably do that, it's about $2,000. You can go even further with a Burmester if you're an audiophile too. Now these seats, don't these look absolutely luscious? These are optional. These are the 18-way adaptive comfort seats. You must get these, super important. The standard seat is just an 8-way sports seat. They're fine, but this is the way to do it in a Macan. Gorgeous seats. These ones are black, perforated with papaya orange stitching, and we've even got orange seat belts, which I love. But this car has got a black interior, black seats, black headliner, black everything. It's 35 degrees in Sydney. Don't do this to yourself. Either get seat cooling, which is an option, or get a light interior, or both, because this is bacon. I'm earning my salary today. I know, poor me, sitting in a Porsche. But anyway, in terms of storage and layout, it's not bad, but it could be better. We've got mid-size cup holders here. We've got a little phone tray and a hidden 12-volt socket. We've got big door bins that can take a large water bottle, but then we've just got this massive slate of piano black here in the center with lots of buttons. It gets very badly marked by your fingers, and there's not really oddment storage around here, which is a little annoying. But we are sitting under a panoramic sunroof, again, an option. This being a family SUV, a lot of people are going to want that though. I would probably choose it as well. Jump into the back of the Macan and you'll find it's a compact SUV. That's one of this vehicle's attributes. It's not too big, and therefore it doesn't feel too big on the road. And it's actually a fun little tool. If you've grown up driving hot hatches, you love a little sports car, and you suddenly find yourself producing children, the Macan is one way to get into a bigger car without feeling like you're driving a bus. And I love that about this car. And of course, it's as true of the T as it is of the S, GTS and the base model as well. Now, we don't have map pockets on the back of the seats, so your UBD is going to have to go somewhere else, but we do have air vents, temperature control, more USB-C ports here, a flip-down armrest with cup holders and a pass-through so you can get skis or whatever you want kind of running down the center here. Nice comfortable seats in the back, but you're a bit confined if you've got long legs. This seat's in my driving position. I sit quite forward, but I am 6 foot tall. Headroom's okay, legroom's good, but toe room is a bit of an issue. Massive hump in the floor here, so you're going to want to keep it to 4 people in the car max, apart from absolute emergencies. But lovely materials, all feels extremely expensive back here, which it would want to be because this car is not inexpensive. It's quite dear, but you are paying for some pretty damn good engineering. I just said in the back seat, the Macan's pretty compact. Come around here to the back of it, look how small it is. How great is that? Like, we live in a world where SUVs are just getting so large. The Macan is fairly heavy, so it's quite dense, but at least it's not large on the outside. I tower over this thing, which I absolutely love. I also love the design of it. It looks like a Porsche. Sorry, someone yelled at Andy in the comments the other day for saying Porsche. It is Porsche, that's fine. You can have that win. Papaya paint, it's not papaya orange, just papaya. Looks fantastic. And then we've got the grey detailing, which is a bit of a hallmark of the Macan T. Grey badge work, grey mirrors, grey spoiler, grey side blades. It's a grey theme, but I love the fact that the car is not grey. It's orange, it's papaya. Also, the button to open the boot is here on the wiper, and that opens up to reveal a good sized boot. There are SUVs for sure with larger amounts of cargo room than this, but it's square, it's convenient, it's easy to load stuff into, and super impressively, every Macan has a spare wheel. It's only a collapsible space saver, but when heaps of cars in this segment don't even bother giving you a spare at all, this is a win in my opinion. You get another 12-volt socket, you get a little nook and cranny over here, and you get air suspension controls to raise or lower the vehicle for loading stuff. Plus we can close the boot or close it and lock the car. Our last thing before we take this car for a drive and listen to these sports exhaust pipes is to discuss the running costs. Even though I think the Macan is actually not too overpriced given how good it is to drive, you can't have your cake and eat it too, because you get stung by the running costs. And the body that's responsible for that is Porsche Cars Australia, because they have so far refused to set up a cap price servicing program like almost every rival to this vehicle has. And that means it's up to dealers to set service pricing, so that can vary across the country. Our local dealer, close to our office, Porsche Centre Sydney South, they charge a hair under $5,000 to service the Macan for 5 years or 75,000 Ks, which is way beyond what Audi charges for a Q5 that has ultimately quite similar hardware to this vehicle. And that's something which the consumers really ought to be solved. It kind of extends to the warranty. The Porsche warranty in Australia is now one of the very last on the market to be only 3 years in duration, when nearly everybody else has gone to 5, but at least Porsche allows you to buy extended warranties, and actually very long extended warranties that can keep this car under a factory warranty for an awfully long amount of time, giving you lots of peace of mind, although you pay for the privilege. Fuel consumption for the car is claimed 9.5 litres per 100 Ks, minimum 98 octane. That's an important one to note. In my driving, I've been able to get about 11 or 12, which is exactly what I get in the V6. So there's not really any saving for going for the 4-cylinder. And in terms of insurance, in the last 12 months, the median budget direct customer has spent $1,564 comprehensively insuring a new Porsche Macan. Now, everybody's situation varies and your premium will vary based on things insurers take into account, like where you live and how you garage the car. So, the Macan T, it writes quite a few performance checks. So, what is the performance really like? Well, let's put it in Sport Plus, launch mode, and go. It throws you off the line pretty nicely for a little 4-pot. And it actually sounds quite raughty too, and the exhaust has some pops and bangs. We've got the sports exhaust on this car. It's one of $26,000 in options on this particular example of the Macan T. So they have gone a bit nuts on this car. But, you know, I think comparisons such as that, you know, the Macan T has a Golf engine, for instance, is not really telling the whole story. Of course, it does use the Volkswagen and Porsche EA888 2-litre turbocharged petrol 4-cylinder that sees duty in an awful lot of Volkswagen, Skoda, Audi, Cupra, Porsche products. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because as you know, we know on this channel, as 4-cylinders go, this is a very, very good one, and its response in the Macan is decent enough. Launches feel fun, they sound good, but ultimately they're not hugely effective as Macans go. I've performance tested the car, I'll put the numbers up on the screen now. I got a 6.08 second 0 to 100 time out of the vehicle. That's not a huge amount quicker than like Tiguan 162 TSIs that we've tested on the channel before. It's okay, it's just that the 6-cylinder Macan is much quicker, both in the real world and in performance testing contexts. Kurt has performance tested the Macan GTS and got a 4.0 second 0 to 100 time out of that car. And I mean, the way this Macan T is optioned, it's more expensive than a Macan S with the V6. And that engine is the 2.9 litre twin turbo out of the Audi RS4 and RS5. And I know which one I would prefer to drive. So I think in some ways the Macan T is a bit of a cynical exercise. But T, you know, touring in Porsche nomenclature is not meant to mean faster in an engine capacity. It usually means lighter, but the Macan T is heavier than a base Macan, despite sharing the same engine. It does come with the Sport Chrono package as standard, which is how it has a quicker 0 to 100 claim than the base car, so that is worth keeping in mind. But this is not a light vehicle, it's a 2-ton midsize SUV, so in some ways the T badge is really just for marketing. That being said, if none of that stuff matters to you at all and you're not a total Porsche nerd, congrats on being a normal person, the Macan T is just a really fun to drive midsize SUV. Like any Macan, the dynamics of this crossover are better than any other crossover, at least before you start getting to stuff like Lamborghini Uruses and things. This is a great SUV from behind the wheel. No matter which engine you choose for it, it's really, really nice to drive, with beautifully tuned steering, a level ride, and just this eagerness in the whole chassis that just dives for the next corner. And if you think it's a tarted up Audi Q5, well, I've got a surprise for you, because it ain't. It shares that car's MLB platform, but Porsche's made so many alterations that it doesn't feel at all like the Audi from behind the wheel. Now, unfortunately, we can't really talk about what the Macan T's suspension package is like, because Porsche's gone ahead and optioned this vehicle with effectively the GTS suspension, adaptive air suspension with a 10mm ride decrease, which is quite different to the steel springs with adaptive dampers that come standard on the Macan T with a more aggressive 15mm ride height decrease. But what I can tell you is, for what they've put on the car, the air suspension, it's nice and comfortable, it's level, even in Sport Plus mode. With the suspension in the stiffest settings, it's still not uncomfortable at all. The visibility is pretty decent. I love the comfort of these 18-way seats. However, you do have to do some ticking of boxes on the safety front. AEB continues to be an option on this car, which is utterly unacceptable on a family SUV. At least when you tick that box, you also get adaptive cruise control thrown in. How generous. Lane keep assist though is standard, blind spot monitoring is standard, so it ain't all bad, but obviously we're looking for the next gen Macan to probably tick a few more standard boxes in terms of safety tech, given the purpose of this car. It's not a 911, it's a family car. So now I need to answer the question I set for myself at the start of the video. Is the Macan T worth buying? Well, I think over the base model, it is. It isn't that much more expensive than a base Macan, but you get some cool visual additions. Porsche kind of sets you up with a nice tidy looking Macan without you having to pick through a million different options. So I think it makes sense if you're shopping for a low-end Macan just to grab the T. It's kind of cool. But if you weren't shopping at the low end, if you're actually kind of thinking, maybe I will go for a 6-cylinder, I think you have your answer. I've been very consistent with my reviews of the Macan, which is that the S is the Goldilocks model. If you like the GTS and all the alcantara and blacked out stuff, you do you, that's absolutely fine. But for me, a nice lightly optioned Macan S is the way to go, and it ends up being about the same price as a heavily optioned Macan T anyway, but you're going much faster, you're listening to a 6-cylinder engine, and you know you've got one of the very best Macans. That said, there's no such thing as a bad Porsche Macan, so I guess that's the answer. You can let me know your opinion down below in the comments. While you're there, subscribe, notification bell, you know the drill. And as always, thanks for watching Chasing Cars.